friends, it's Ellen here at Yarn Doc, and today I have a yarn review for you. This is Good Yarn Super Soft, and I bought it from Temu. There are many vendors who sell this yarn, and I thought I would do a little review so that you would get a sense of what it is and what it is like. It says it's a 4-weight, but I would classify that as a 3-weight. Yeah. That's just myself. You might look at it and say, no, it's a 4, but I would say it's a 3. It's, what can I compare it to? It is much softer than, say, Red Heart or Mainstay. I should say it's 100% acrylic. So it would be in that same category of yarn. But it's not like Caron Super Soft, Simply Soft. I just completely forgot the name of that yarn. Because that has a silkier texture. This has a soft, it is very soft. It is well named. It is soft. It is a nice, yeah. You would put a baby on that, no problem. You wouldn't even think twice. It's 190 grams skein, but when I weigh them, I've actually never had one that weighed under 200 grams. It's machine washable and dryable. I like that. I do not know the meterage. That's not on the listing or on the ball band. It is made in China, and they recommend 4 to 5 millimeter knitting needles and 3.5 to 5.5 crochet hooks. So they're really saying it depends on your project, which with crochet it really does. So I am going to work up some samples of it. I got this nice hot pink color so we can really see what difference the washer and dryer make, if it holds, if it's color fast. And it is brighter pink than I expected it to be from the picture. And it's more of a coral pink than I was expecting. But it is a really pretty color. It's a little more neon than I usually choose, but that's all right. But something to be aware of is that the colors, when you're purchasing them, at least on my screen, look pretty different to what I have received. I do have it in 3 other colorways for a specific project that I would like to make in the not so distant future. There are, I think usually 28 colors available, but that also depends on which buyer, which vendor you're buying it from. Temu is just a marketplace platform, so there are various vendors that do sell this good yarn. And I initially bought it to see if, with the Red Heart, it was just a knockoff for Red Heart Super Saver, but it is definitely not when you feel it. So I'm going to go get to work. I've done my 3 samples. 1 to be left as it is, just as it came hot off the hook. 1 to go in the washer and be laid flat to dry. And the 3rd will go in the washer and dryer. I will remind you that this yarn says to not put it in the dryer, but I'm a rule breaker, and no, I'm a scientist. I'm an experimenter, and I just want to see what will happen if I don't obey the label and share that information with you, because, sometimes I don't. Family life sometimes dictates that what can go in the dryer needs to go in the dryer. You know what I'm saying? So they are 10 centimeters wide. They don't look it because my corners are a little rounded, but
At the widest points, they are all 10 centimeters. They were all done at the same time with the same hook in the same mood. So that should make them as equal as 3 items can be. And the other thing we're going to look for is color fastness, which is one of the benefits of using this bright, vivid color, is we will really get to see how that color handles the washer and the dryer. So I'm going to go put them in, and I will be right back to you with the results.
If I took those stitch markers off, would you be able to tell which ones have been washed and which ones have been dried? I don't think I could. I really don't think that I could, which is good because I intend to use these samples in my finished object. And I was a little worried that I would have to do some more after the washing and drying test. But completely color fast. I see absolutely no difference in color. There's no fading. There's no pilling. There's no change to the stitch definition whatsoever. And you can see they are all still 10 centimeters wide. So this yarn did a great job at washing and drying and sort of maintaining itself. I did, as usual, use the wool cycle on my washer and the delicate cycle on my dryer. I'd like to do that with all my handmaids. I also used one of those delicates bags, the mesh bags to wash in. That is sort of my concession to protecting any projects that I've made that I'm washing and drying. But even with that, it looks to me like I can use the washer and dryer on this yarn, or at least that's what I would do. It does say on it you can wash it. I'm not noticing a big difference in texture or softness. The drier one might be a little softer, but it started out as a pretty smooth and soft, I think it's polyester, maybe it's acrylic. I can't remember. It's either a polyester or an acrylic, but it started off pretty soft and silky anyway. And the dryer might have made it just barely noticeably softer. Okay, let's take a look at that finished object. So this is my finished object. I call it Ellen's Crowet scarf. Crowet, crochet, knit, crowet. You see what I'm doing there? And what it is I took the granny squares that I just showed you from the washer and the dryer, and they still look pretty good. So I took those, and I took some swatches that I made while I was learning to knit. So I had 3 granny squares, and then I took 3 garter stitch squares and 3 stockinette stitch squares and 3 squares of 1x1 rib, which were not supposed to be 1x1 rib, but turned out that way. And so I said, good. And then I crocheted them all together like I would if they were all just granny squares, and made this little infinity scarf with it. And so I have pictures here, I'm sure. And you can see it has good stitch definition. And it was fairly easy to work with. It is a very soft, especially for a bargain acrylic. I think maybe even with the price tag, you might want to say premium acrylic on that, because they are 190 gram skeins, and I usually pay about 12 to 13 euros for a pack of 3. So maybe into the premium, but it is soft. I've had this on all day, and it's machine washable and dryable. and it's fairly easy to work with. It feels nice on your hands. What's the downside? It splits. It splits. Now I will confess I was knitting backward and I was experiencing a lot of splitting, and now that I am knitting forward, I'm not experiencing as much splitting, but it's still, grab it. It's just so loosely woven there. Like you can just see how loose that weave is. Can you? That it's just really, it gets really thready at times, especially depending on how you're moving the crochet hook, and that it is a little bit better when you are knitting the right direction. That is true. But I experienced the splitting with both crafts, and so it deserves note. I had no factory knots, none. And I used almost the entire skein to make this scarf. And so you do pretty well. I don't think it had the meterage on here. It doesn't have the meterage on here. But yeah, I think that's pretty good, pretty average. It's not necessarily as long of a scarf as I might make. I'll show you a picture of it laid out before I crocheted it together. So you kind of get a sense of how long it is. And I was really tempted to add another 3 squares, but I'm sorry, moss stitch, I'm just not. If anyone has a good moss stitch tutorial, drop that in the comments, because I have tried a bunch and I just end up with a mess. So I decided it was enough. It was long enough. I've got this wrapped around me twice. So now it looks messy. So I just decided it was long enough, and that I had worked with it enough to really have a sense of the yarn. It's probably my go-to acrylic. It's just soft, comes in a bunch of different colors. I have a project for the new year that I've bought the yarn for. It's going to be a make-along. I don't know. I get too excited myself over silly little things. But yes, I'm going to do a make-along in January. And I'm, for one of the projects in the make-along, going to use this yarn. I give it an A. Like there's really nothing to complain about with this yarn, except it could be plied together a little tighter. A little tighter weave on it would not hurt anything. I don't know if it would make it less soft, and that's why they don't, because as they call it, it's supposed to be super soft. So I don't know if that would affect it or not. But yeah, other than the splits, and sort of when you do have ends that have to go in, they can get a little splitty. So I would recommend, if you're using this, leave your ends in when you get your ends. It's good practice. I'm not lecturing here, but my life has gotten so much better since I started weaving my ends in as I go. That now I feel like I'm a prophet of weaving in the ends. But seriously, with this yarn, because it will get very thready which makes it harder to weave the ends in when they're all kind of loose and wanting to go off in their own way. And that when you're pulling it through your stitches, just do it as you go before it has the chance to get unwoven. And then when you're finished, the only thing you have to do is weave in that last final end. It's so much more satisfying. Anyway, I'm off my soapbox. Do what works for you. But with this yarn in particular, I do recommend that actually for a practical reason and not just what I think is best practices. Anyway, I give it an A. It's one of the best acrylics I've had to work with. And for the most part, easy to knit with, easy to crochet with, easy to wear, easy to wash. What's not to like? So good job, Temu. And good yarn. Good yarn, you're good yarn. I'm going to get really punny, so I'm going to stop and say thank you for watching. If you're not subscribed, please give that a good think. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything, but it would really help me. And it's a great way to say thank you. If you're already subscribed, why don't you give this a thumbs up? Because that's another great way to say thanks. And if you have anything to say, pop that in the comments. I love reading them and interacting with you guys down there. So until next time, friends, happy stitching.